So, good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, the 23rd of May, and this to me is a particularly important subject. We got an announcement, of course, if you were receiving your emails, reading your emails from Niken last week, to explain to us that due to some regulatory demands, certain words were not to be used in promoting or talking about some of our products. These words were key ingredients and some of the technology: negative ions, far infrared, and of course the name triphase technology. So of course the question emerges, well, if you can't talk about far infrared, or you can't use the word negative ion, what do we say? How do we talk about our products? How do we promote the benefits? And this is, I think, a justifiable question for many people. What do we do with this? Well, the good news is, when we talk about our industry and who we are and what we do, we are network marketers. What does that mean? Well, let's take that last word out of that phrase, marketeers. I want to talk today about some important things that we can do as business owners and as network marketers, or as marketers, to build our business, to respond to the moving dynamic flow of the business environment that we operate in, and always come out on top, always be in charge of our message, always be the one that's leading the way. How we can do that. So today, I'm going to take a slightly different approach, excuse me, to other calls, because I'm going to give you a bit of homework today. I think this needs to be a bit of a practical, hands-on experience versus me simply just talking about this important message. So I hope if it's convenient to you, I want you to grab a pen and some paper. If you've got the chance to do that, by all means, take some screenshots. There's going to be some slides come up that you'll want to take some screenshots of. And of course, this is going to be recorded, so you will be able to go back to YouTube on the Magnetic Leaders website, YouTube channel, or on the Royal Alliance YouTube channel, and watch this again. I think this will be a helpful thing to watch a couple of times over. And of course, if you want my slides, please just drop me a note and I will email the slides that I put together for today for your ready reference. Because I think, again, my objective here today is not just to simply say, which we could do in 5 minutes and be done with the call. This is what you can say instead of negative ions. This is what you can say instead of far infrared. This is what you can say instead of triphase. There is a deeper message here, and it really kind of forms around advertising, promotion, marketing, communicating, messaging, and what it means to us to be marketeers. We're network marketers. What does that mean? How do we manage this? So I want to start by sharing my screen and showing you something for context. This is a website here. If I can just ask a quick thumbs up, I can see Randy Rolfe to my right here. Can you see the advertising codes screen? Yeah, okay. So I want to give context. We often talk in network marketing about how we are heavily regulated as an industry, and yes, we are. But the reality is, every industry is heavily regulated. Here is a website in the UK that provides guidelines for anyone, regardless of industry, that wants to advertise, market, or promote their business, their services, their products, or what have you. And you've got different codes. Non-broadcast code here, which is for advertisements, sales promotion, direct marketing communications predominantly. Then you've got other codes for broadcasting, tele-shopping, TV channels, interactive ads, that kind of thing. And you've got different things. If I just want to give you this as a preview, just as an example, if we click on here, this is the non-broadcast code. Now, for context, if you go into the back office of Niken, download our policies and procedures, you'll see a document that has got lots of rules and regulations that guide us and direct us in regards to what we can and cannot do to protect us, to look after us, to keep us safe, so that we can have an environment of business building activity that is protected, secure, and gives us a chance for continued growth. But sometimes we can look at these rules and feel it's quite prohibitive. Maybe sometimes it can feel that way. But for context, if you're not in Niken or in a network marketing environment, and you want to promote or market your business, let's look at some other rules that these guys also have to face. You can see here, you've got some compliance rules, compliance regarding to social responsibility, fair competition, what have you. recognition of marketing communications, misleading advertising. Look at this, promotional marketing, distance selling, database practice, medical claims, health-related products, beauty products, environmental claims, weight loss. All of these different categories have different rules that are required. Let's look at promotional marketing, for example. I'm not going to go through all the rules. I just want to give you context. I'm just going to scroll down. Can you see all these different rules that are at play here? There's a lot, isn't there? This is just, by the way, one of those links of all the many other links that were on that page. My point is, and this just keeps on scrolling, okay? My point is there, everyone is governed by bodies that are designed to protect consumers and to regulate best practice. We all have these rules and restrictions that we need to follow. We can argue or debate whether they're right or wrong, but that is really quite irrelevant because we don't change that. Our job is to respond to it. So what I want to do today is say, look, all these other industries have rules that they have to govern by, paths that they have to tread, and we are the same. We are not different. That's my point. We are not different. So within that context, I want to share another screen now and get into some of the messages that I wanted to talk about what we can do. So I want to talk first of all about being solution oriented. I think it's really important. I'm going to just minimize this for a sec. I think it's really important for us to be solution oriented, looking for ways that we can find opportunities for us to say the things that we need to say. I think that's really important that we do that. Here's an example of someone that, of course, cannot make a medical claim, yet their product is somewhat medical in its application. Beecham's, I'm not sure if you have that in the countries where you live, but here in the UK, Beecham's is a solution for if you have a common cold. Now, of course, that is somewhat in the realm of a medical product, isn't it? It's treating an illness. But you can't say necessarily that it cures the common cold. But look at what they say here. What I want to do, as we go through these messages now, I'm going to give you some different marketing examples. I want you to look at these messages and ask yourself, what is the advertiser doing? What tool are they employing in order to get their message across? Because they have clearly got guidelines that they are operating within. So what are they doing to work with those and still get the solution? So here's Beecham's. It's designed to treat a common cold, but of course it can't say that it cures it because otherwise it would be a claim that they would get in trouble for. This is their message. Until there's a cure, there's Beecham's. Now, what are they not saying? They are not saying that it cures the common cold, are they? But what is the implication? The next best thing to a cure is what? Beecham's. Don't you think that's pretty clever? Without saying that it cures the cold, they actually say in their message, we don't cure it. They actually say that quite brazenly, don't they? We do not cure it, but the next best thing is us. Don't you think that's a great message? A great way of doing it? I think that's really clever. I personally think that's very clever. So let's look at another example. I like these. So here we go. Here is a breakfast cereal in the United Kingdom. Again, a very popular, healthy alternative for breakfast, shredded wheat. And if you look at this one on the left here, you've got a beautiful image of what the product looks like. You've got lots of information as to key ingredients, whole grain, wheat, honey, almonds. You've got the servings, the value of the servings per cup. You've got the weight. You've got all this information down the side, the nutritional benefits. A lot of information there, but of course, being a nutritional product, again, heavily restricted on what they can and cannot say. So what are they saying? Well, it's an excellent source of fiber, 49 grams of whole grain per serving, and it may reduce the risk of heart disease. Now, of course, they can't say that it does reduce the risk of heart disease, can they? Because that would be making a claim which they would get in trouble for. So what do they say? What's the key word there? May. They may reduce the risk of heart disease. They're not saying that it does. It may or may not. They're saying that it may do. Let's look at this one on the right. Let's flick over here for just a second. Again, another one of their products, 100% natural whole grain wheat, fantastic. 9 out of 10 doctors recommend it. That's a great advertising tool in and of itself. But what does it say to the right there? To help reduce the risk of heart disease. Let me ask you a question. Are they saying that shredded wheat, if you eat it, will reduce the risk of heart disease? They've got there in big letters, reduce the risk of heart disease. But actually, they're not saying that it does, are they? What they're saying is, if I need to click the button here, it helps. They're not saying it does, they're saying it helps. And I think it's important as we discuss this to identify how people in advertising use their language and their words to get their message across. Let's look at some other examples. I love these ads. This whole campaign, I'm not a beer drinker. I have never drunk alcohol in my life. But I love the Carlsberg advertising campaigns. I love this image. If Carlsberg did meetings, they would probably be the best meeting rooms in the world. And here you are, you've got a business meeting taking place in the middle of a beautiful swimming pool with palm trees outside, and they're in their swimming suits. And but what do they say at the bottom? But we make beer, probably the best beer in the world. Now, they can't say that they make the best beer in the world, perhaps. Maybe that would be inappropriate for them to suggest such a thing. What do they say? They say, probably. Probably. And again, by association, in their messaging, we don't do business meetings or meeting rooms, but if we did, they'd probably be the best in the world. Notice what they do there again. It's that use of the words, their language, to infer, to suggest, to represent their product or their benefits without necessarily coming straight out and saying it. I like this one because what could Coca-Cola really say by way of a product claim about the value of their beverage? If you were to read the ingredients list, they would not be like shredded wheat and have all of those benefits on the front of the can. And they're not really making a product claim here in regards to the value or the nutritional value of their drink. What do they say? Open a little happiness. Now, in this context, they're talking about an emotional benefit. And they're suggesting if you have a can of Coke, you're going to have a little happy moment. And that's what, if you look at their advertising and their entire campaign for promoting their brand is all about creating moments of happiness. That's what it's all about. They're appealing to an emotion. So I'm just getting a chat come up here. It's being solution oriented. Kathleen is saying this is really important to show the benefits. Nancy is saying suggestions about what it helps versus claims is also very important. And also note the OU kosher symbol on the front of the package. Again, there's some good benefits there that are coming out. Let's take a look at this one. Again, I'm not using this as a suggestion of what we should do. I'm using it as an extreme example of what people have done in the past, and the extremity of the example is to highlight a point. I'm not saying that we should smoke cigarettes. Again, I've never smoked in my life. But look at this advertisement and look at the advertising tool or technique being employed by the manufacturers of Camel cigarettes. According to repeated nationwide surveys,
look at this.
Doctors smoke Camel cigarettes than any other cigarette. Now that's interesting, isn't it? So what they're saying there is perhaps if you were to smoke ours, you would be in there with professionals such as doctors. Maybe doctors who know all about health are saying it's okay. The reality is what probably happened was they were conducting a survey to understand their own product and how it was being integrated with their consumers. They might have had a questionnaire where people were saying, tick the following: your age, male or female, your gender, sorry, male or female, your age, your profession, what brand of cigarettes do you smoke? And in interpreting all of that data, they go, oh, of all the doctors that completed this survey, the majority of them, or perhaps a percentage more than any other, smoked this brand. We can use that to promote our product. But doctors aren't endorsing the product, nor are they saying that it's a good thing to do to smoke cigarettes. What this company is doing is taking a piece of data and using it to their advantage to get a message across. Now, again, like I said, I'm not suggesting that in doing that, we should also follow their suit and start making false suggestions here. But what it does do is it's it's aligning their message with the credibility of the doctors or medical profession. So here are some examples of what advertisers have done when they have restrictions in place as to what they can and cannot say, and how they've found solutions to get their message across. I like this quote here from the founder of Amazon, which, I mean, Amazon now is, I think, more sales, online sales go through Amazon in the United States than anywhere else. I think it's 1/3 of all online sales in the US now go through this channel of Amazon. It's incredible. But listen to what he says. He says, I think frugality drives innovation, just like other constraints do. So he's identifying constraints in his business. One of the only ways to get out of a tight box is to invent your way out. Don't you love that? Don't you love that solution-seeking approach that he's got? I think every industry, as I said to begin with, has restrictions placed upon them. Our task as network marketers, as business owners, as creatives, as solution-centered entrepreneurs, is to innovate, create, and be resourceful. I like what he says here. He says, life is too short to hang out with people who aren't resourceful, meaning this is not only our obligation, but if we really want to thrive, we've got to surround ourselves with people that are innovative, creative, and resourceful. So that being said, I think we've gone through this enough now in highlighting that other industries, other companies, and great leaders are resourceful, they are creative, they invent their way out of tight situations, they continually find themselves in those situations, but they continue to create, innovate, and move forward. And that, of course, is our responsibility too. So let's look now at some of the key words that we've got in Niken that we need to find creative ways of talking about, expressing, promoting, and so on. The best way to start, I believe, is to get down to a very simple definition of the product. So let me of the key ingredient. So let's look at it here, and I'm going to read it out because I'm mindful that some people on the call today are listening versus joining via video conference. So it says a negative ion is an atom or molecule with an electrical charge. They are really, really small. Some ions are positively charged and others are negatively charged. They are all around us and come from both natural and man-made sources. Negative ions are good for us. Positive ions are bad for us. I like how they're keeping this simple. Where do we find negative ions? We find them, we feel alive when we're near waterfalls or a natural spring, when it rains, when we're walking on the beach, or when we're in the woods. This is because in these environments, negative ions are in abundance. Negative ions counteract positive ions and the dangerous free radicals that positive ions cause. We know that free radicals occur in the body and they lead to aging, disease, illness, and all sorts as a consequence of their existence. And so antioxidants, negative ions, and other such things help to reverse or to manage or to mitigate the consequence of having free radicals in our system. Positive ions, it says here, are bad for us. Where do they come from? Exhaust fumes, cigarette smoke, pesticides, dust, soot, radiation from power lines, computers, cell phones, electrical appliances. They all give off positive ions, creating free radical molecules which are harmful to the body. Aging, tissue damage, and some diseases are all linked to free radicals, like I was just saying. Now, with our lifestyle that we have in today's society, we can see the influence of technology, of pollution, and unhealthy living can lead to a significant increase of positive ions, which is why, of course, we love and value the chance to get out into nature, to go for a walk along the beach, enjoy a walk through the woods or near a spring, and we get all of that rejuvenating air back into our system. That all comes from the negative ions. So there is a simple explanation of what negative ions are and how we can experience their benefit. I'm going to pause there. We're going to move on now to a simple explanation of far infrared rays. What are they? How do they work? So a simple explanation of far infrared rays. They are waves of energy, totally invisible to the naked eye, capable of penetrating deep into the human body, where they gently elevate the body's surface temperature and activate major bodily functions. Far infrared rays are emitted by a handful of different things, including the sun, our bodies through the skin, far infrared heaters, and other like products that have far infrared technology. Tourmaline, a semi-precious, naturally occurring gemstone. So here are some examples of how to explain in simple terms. Let me go back. In simple terms, what negative ions are, what far infrared rays are, and some of the consequences that they have on the human body. What I'd like us to do now for just a minute is to think about some of those advertisers that we just looked at before, the ways that they were looking for solutions. And think about now some ways that we could find solutions for promoting our message. Mike DiMuccio is saying here, of all of the MDs polled in NICAN, their #1 recommended product is, and he's suggesting to fill in the blank. What is their #1 recommended product? That's something that we could perhaps do, couldn't we? We've got a lot of doctors, medical professionals in our business. We could interview them all, get them all to share their feedback and to say, of all the products that we've got in NICAN, what is your most recommended product? And then again, by association, this is what Mike's doing here. By association, we can say, of all the doctors that we have in NICAN, the #1 recommended product from our range is this. That would give a wonderful message, wouldn't it? So let's look again. I'm going to go back to my sharing screen, and let's look at some new language that we might want to use with NICAN. So far infrared new language. What I've done is I'm giving just a couple of thoughts here. I'm not being exhaustive, deliberately so, and I'll explain why in just a second. But here are some thoughts that I came up with over the last couple of days. Instead of saying far infrared technology, what could we say? I have suggested here nanotechnology material. I actually think that sounds kind of clever. Nanotechnology material, bioceramic fibers, deep penetrating heat fibers, natural energy creating material. How does it create the natural energy? It's harnessing the thermal heat waves. Maybe you might have some more. What I would suggest, and this is where I said this is a little bit different today, I want to give some homework. I want you to go away from this call today and take some time to think of other names, other words, other phrases that you might want to use to explain what far infrared technology is or what it does without using the term far infrared. I think this is kind of fun to do. I personally quite like it. Imagine that you're in a marketing meeting, or you're an account manager and you're sitting down with in an ad agency, and this is your assignment. What would you do? You've got to be creative. You've got to be solution driven. What would you come up with? What images would you find to tell your story? Let me just see what's coming up on the chat here. Bill Cottle saying a NICAN wellness home. That's a great image there, right there, isn't it? Rachel Dayton saying Kenkotherm warms or cools. There's some good things coming through here. Now with negative ion new language, I've not put in any keywords here like I have with far infrared, because again, I want to have some assignments come in here, and I want to get some feedback come through. What I've done is put a question. What words, language, suggestions, images, scenes, pictures, messages, emotions, metaphors, analogies, stories, testimonials, comparisons, lifestyles, experiences, and activities, which of these could represent, explain, or convey the great benefits of negative ions? What I would like you to do is take some time out this week to answer these questions. If you've got some great ideas, I want you to share them with us, and we can have a follow-up call afterwards where we can share from the collective group some of the ideas that are coming up that people are liking. Kathleen Saunders, I'm getting some loads of comments starting to come in now. Kathleen Saunders from the UK is saying, I also think it would be good to say how these can help someone. What is the solution? That's exactly right, Kathleen. We've got to show the benefit. As they say, we want to show them the sizzle, not the sausage. I remember an ad advertising bacon sandwiches when I was a kid, and a little boy running home from school, so anxious to get home from school after a hard day of school. And while he's coming home, you've got the sound of his mum frying up some bacon in the kitchen, and you've got the sound of the sizzle going off in the background. And he's excitedly running home. You know what he's running home for. And he runs through the door, he sits down, and his mum puts down a bacon sandwich for him, and he says, I love coming home because my mum always brings home the bacon, right? And what did they sell? They sold the sizzle. They didn't talk about the bacon. They didn't tell you what was good about it or how it tastes. All they did was they gave us that wonderful sound of the bacon sizzling in the frying pan. That was it. So yes, sell the sizzle, not the sausage. Nancy's saying a picture of the beach represents all of the natural energies of our product that our products provide. Really, really true. Inspired by nature, Anita is saying here, inspired by nature for natural balancing properties. Rachel saying, Niken brings ambient energies that mitigate the toxic stresses of our everyday world into our home. I like that one. Maggie McGee from Canada is saying, until you live in nature every day, there is the Niken Wellness Home. Oh, Maggie, I love that one. That is a really good one. Barbara Joseph said, oh, she's agreeing with me. Good one, Maggie. Sue Gruber, nature's antioxidants, nature's happy chemicals. I like that one too. Linda's agreeing. There's a number of people here. I think Maggie McGee, if we had prizes to give out today, I think you may have just won it. Madeline is saying as well, some of our earlier catalogs showed a restful, stretching wake up. Can you see how in just a few minutes, as we come together, all of these ideas start to come. This time last week, we probably had 1 or 2 words, negative ions and far infrared. And that was probably the language that we were using, and that was it. This week now, we have a dozen more words, a dozen more images, a whole load of pictures, and an awful lot of excitement around better ways that we can actually represent our product and get our message across. I find that very invigorating, and I also find it very inspiring. Barbara Richmond is saying, brainstorming is always fruitful. I think this is a wonderfully creative exercise that we're going through here. I'm going to share another screenshot now. This is my last slide for today, and you might want to take a screenshot. What I might do as well after this call is post this image on my Facebook page, so you can go straight to Facebook, grab this image, download it, and use it for your reference, because I think this is something really worthwhile using as a trigger in this brainstorming process that we're all a part of. So like I said, I'm going to use this as my final slide. Have a look at this last slide now. Remember the homework that I've given. I want you to think of some creative ways, as these other advertisers have done, to inspire, to inform, to educate, to instruct, but to make a difference in getting our message out about our products to the world. So here's my last slide, and I think this is a really good one to work with in regards to giving us some tools. Here we go. Check this out. 50 advertising techniques. I'm not suggesting that you come up with 50 different solutions, but this is something that will definitely help as you sit down. And like I said, maybe grab a screenshot of this. I will post this on Facebook so you can pull it up afterwards. But sit down and grab a few of these and say, if I was to use this to talk about my back flex, to talk about my insoles, to talk about my duvet, to talk about my Kenko Air, which of these techniques might I want to use in order to get my best message across with the best method possible? I want to first go down to point number 14. Point number 14 is facts and figures. Now, unfortunately, in network marketing, when it comes to talking about products, the vast majority of people, because they are not professional advertisers or marketeers, tend to gravitate towards point number 14, and they will talk about facts and figures. Let me tell you exactly what it does. Let me tell you exactly how it does it. Let me tell you all about the key ingredient. Let me tell you all about the statistics behind this, and so on and so forth. And then they'll jump to number 47. And here is a testimonial to demonstrate that it works. Now that is helpful, but that is 2 out of 50. Let's look at some other examples that you might want to use that are also effective, and I think in many instances can be more effective. You've got curiosity, number 3, analogy, number 2, metaphor, number 28, nostalgia, number 30. I love nostalgia. Parallelism, patriotism, using children. That's a great one. We use that ourselves in talking about the wellness home, don't we? Personification. That's a great one as well. Comparison appeal, emotional appeal, establishing credibility. We saw that one with the doctors, didn't we, in that earlier one. Repetition. Carlsberg actually do that with theirs. Whilst they use the word probably and they use suggestion, and they also use humor, they also use repetition because they use that as a theme throughout all of their advertising. What else do they use? Fantasy, green. And of course, green isn't the color. It's talking about environmental. Humor, hyperbole, image advertising, sensory appeal, rhetorical question, reverse psychology, simple solution, slice of life. I like that. Snob appeal. I think I kind of like that one too myself, if you don't mind the confession. All of these examples here, I think, are very, very helpful for us in looking for ways that we can get our message across. Just getting some more, I'll stop the share here. Some more results, more comments coming in. It's actually much better, Nancy is saying, to create the image of the final results than telling all of the technical details. Don't make the customer jump to the results, suggest it to them. The power of suggestion and promoting the end result is really good. And of course, the end result is the feeling, isn't it? All brands are built through the power of feeling, emotion. Emotion leads to action, not cognition. When we go to any store, when we get connected with any brand, it is not common sense that makes us go, I love that product. It's emotion. And if you look at advertising on television or on radio, online, in magazines, and just do this as an exercise right now for the next few days. Look at how advertisers are getting their message across. What are the ways they're doing it? You'll find that they appeal to emotion more than anything else. Even when they're using statistics or evidence, they'll do it in an emotional way. And they'll appeal to us emotionally. So what else are we getting here? Harriet is saying a newer dimension of natural energies. That's a great one. I'm also being asked here, could you make a link to download your slides for this presentation? Yes, I will make sure. I'll forward it to Mike DiMuccio and to Dave Johnson, and perhaps they can get it uploaded onto the Royal Alliance website and on the Magnetic Leaders website. So I'll forward that to them along with the recording of this call. Madeline is saying rationale to keep an air wellness. I like it. We can increase demand with a total wellness home that is nature. Rachel Dayton is saying, is our 2-minute animated vital wellness video still in compliance? I believe it is. I don't think it talks about any of the technologies. All it does is it talks about the problems and the solutions through our product categories. So that video perhaps might become all the more relevant now. Tessa Gray is saying people buy what they want, not what they need. Most sales are based on emotion. That's true. Let me share with you an interesting statistic on that. When financial economies start to crash, you would think that people would start to tighten their purse strings in certain areas. It's been proven through research that the sin industries tend to thrive when financial markets crash. Sin industries being gambling, alcohol sales, cigarettes, all of these types of things that are driven by lifestyle in an unhealthy way. They thrive there. Why is that? Because people are looking for an escape from the emotional stresses that they're feeling financially. And how do they do it? They actually spend money, but they do it in a bad way. But again, emotion drives sales more than anything else. Really good point there, Tessa. Barbara is just quickly asking, if we have recorded Zooms with PowerPoint posted, how do we proceed with post on YouTube mentioning non-compliant words? This is fine, Barbara, because this is like a training message. Yes, this is fine. We're not spreading the word of negative ions and far infrared here. We're talking about how to find solutions. So this is perfectly fine. You don't need to delete anything with this message whatsoever. Rachel Dayton is saying, remember Julie Tara in Orlando spoke about the prospect's desire to discover their own. It's important, isn't it, to encourage discovery, really important. Promise the benefit, what it's done for your family, their bodies, and so on. Sherry Danzig, I think Nikken has forced us to be more creative in sharing the benefits and ultimately be more influential to customers. Really good perspective there, Sherry. I think that's really true. As Jeff Bezos said, that frugality breeds innovation, and I think restriction can also breed creativity. So definitely, I think this is really good. Laurie Jones is saying something really important here. Simple is better. I agree that as much as we can keep it simple, we want to. So Mike Demucho is saying here, I'll upload the slides. I'll generate a link so you can use download the PowerPoint. So thank you, Mike, for doing this. So again, lots and lots of feedback coming in. Nail salons, hair salons do better in recession times as well. Randy's saying that's right. People go out, they get their hair done, they get their nails done. They want to look good, because if I look good, I'll feel better. Yeah. So it's interesting. Again, what has driven the sale there? It's emotion. It's emotion. And talking about facts and statistics doesn't always do what we need to do. So Linda Morris is saying, I believe Barbara meant former recorded ones. Okay, such as the product showcase. You're right. In fact, Linda, thank you for clarifying. If there are messages out there that are using that language, we will need to look at replacing them with new ones. But you know what? Again, I think that's probably a good thing to do. We have inundated the internet with a lot of presentations over this last 12 months. And I think it would be nice to refresh them, get some newer ones in that are more compliant, more up to date with the right language. And then, like I said, have them replace the older ones. So the great thing is we do this every week. We do these presentations all the time. If you've got one up that you've done before, have a go at creating a new one, get this new language in, get creative, do some practice, and of course, get that message out there recorded and uploaded, and let us know. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, we're all on the same page here, that we've got an opportunity to be creative, a chance to find solutions, and we can see that we're not alone, not just in network marketing, but industry-wide, as business builders, great or small, whether you're one of the largest companies on the planet like Amazon, or whether you've just gotten started in Nikken and you've got one customer because you've just gotten going today. We all face similar challenges that we need to find creative solutions in order for us to move forward. But I hope today we've given you some insights as to what other professionals do, other great advertisers and marketers. Hopefully today you'll be able to find some words that you can use to help you feel confident in sharing the great benefits of our products. And again, like I said, hopefully today you'll have seen some of these advertising techniques that we can employ to get better at building our business and becoming more professional. All of these things give us the chance, the opportunity to become a better version of ourselves. And for that, I'm truly thankful. So thank you all for being on the call. It's gone a little longer than planned, but I think that's because of the great interaction and feedback that we've had from each of you on the call today. So thank you very much for all being a part of this, being solution-centered, and finding great ways to do what we do best, which is to spread the great benefits of Nikken to customers and business builders alike. So thank you all for being with us. Again, this is recorded. We'll post it online very soon. And thank you very much for being with us, and we'll speak to you next week.